Hello students, welcome to my home. Today I'm going to quickly talk about, in 5 minutes or less, what you need to know about lipids. These are not as complicated as proteins. It's going to be a quick lesson. But before we get into a quick correction of last time, the simplest amino acid is actually called glycine. Um, I was calling it cytosine last time, which is a nucleic acid. We'll talk about that next time. But yeah, glycine is that first amino acid. Okay, so let's hop on to Khan Academy. I'm going to show you real quick what you need to know about lipids. Now, lipids actually are a very diverse group. They have many different functions in your body. But the most important function you need to know at this point is that they play an important role in the phospholipid bilayer that is a protected layer around each and every cell in your body. So just like each and every cell of your body has proteins, each and every cell in your body has lipids in their phospholipid bilayer. Now, this is a nice picture of it from Khan Academy. Shout out to Khan Academy. You can read a lot more about the cell membrane and quiz yourself there later if you want. But what we see in this picture is that this is the lipid part. And there's two possible things. First, we have, and in both cases, we see this kind of jagged chain. What's going on here? Well, if you're not super familiar with chemistry, you might not know what this means. This is actually just lots of carbons all bonded together. So we talked about this in earlier videos. Carbons provide the backbone for all of these macromolecules. So each turn here represents a carbon, and the octet will be filled out with hydrogen. So all this is just a bunch of hydrocarbons. And hydrocarbons, whenever you see just carbons and hydrogens, what you should think in this class is that that is nonpolar. Carbons and hydrogens are always nonpolar, which makes them hydrophobic. Okay, so if these are hydrophobic, that means they're pushing out the water, and that's good. That means the membrane in your body is able to keep water on the outside out and on the inside in. And importantly, other things that might be flowing in with the water, like toxins or viruses or other things, going to keep all of those on the outside. So that's the function of a phospholipid bilayer. A couple other important things is sometimes you have double bonds in the in the lipid part of the phospholipid bilayer. Anytime you have a double bond, that makes it unsaturated, and that's going to create a bend. And sometimes that has very important parts structures in lipids. So if you just have all of these perfectly saturated fatty acids, they can get closer and closer together. But if they're unsaturated, nutritionally speaking, that's actually good because they spread out more. So they're not as concentrated with the fatty acids. So that's the difference between saturated, which means no double bonds, and unsaturated, which means one or more double bonds in the lipids. Lastly, but not leastly, last time we were talking about proteins. Now, sometimes your body, sometimes this lipid layer is too good at keeping out the water. Like we said, it's hydro, meaning water, phobic, keeps out water. Sometimes we need water to flow in and out of the cell. And so it'll actually facilitate that by going back to what we said last time with proteins. This is really cool. So it'll actually build all of these amino acids in the ribosome, and it'll make, like we talked about last time, a secondary structure called alpha helix. So it'll bind together a whole bunch of different amino acids in a helical structure. And I can't draw it because it's 3D, but imagine that we had two rows of amino acids making a helix. It'll make 6 of these bundles. And again, this is in 3 dimensions, so it's a little bit hard for me to draw. But it'll make 6 helices. And that will be a transmembrane protein. So it'll actually build these proteins. They'll interact with the phospholipids, and then make a channel. And this channel is very important because these 6 helices, which are made out of over 200, from 200 to 400, depending on what type of cell it is, over 200 amino acids. So it'll bind together 200 amino acids, make these helices, And those helices will create a channel that allow water and only water, let's draw H2O, to flow in and out of the cell. Pretty cool. So this is a way for your body to control what goes in and out of the cell. If it didn't have this lipid membrane, everything would just be flowing in and out. We get all sorts of toxins into our cell, and we lose important things to outside of the cell. But instead of that, we only have very specific parts of the cell made out of proteins of over 200 amino acids that allow water in when it's needed. And these are called aquaporons. You don't need to memorize that, but just be aware that lipids are protecting the cell, keeping us sealed outside. But there are proteins that allow things in and out of the cell, and those are built out of amino acids, just like we talked last time. Okay, that's it for today. Have a wonderful day. Much love. See you all in a couple weeks.